Hey dears, welcome to my channel. This is Priya Karnaharan. Hope you all are doing good. And in the last part, we have discussed few topics under delegated legislation. And in this class, we will see part 2 of delegated legislation. If you have not seen my first part of delegated legislation means, please go and check the part 1 video and then come back to part 2. Then only you can understand the concept easily. So in this part, we will see advantages and disadvantages of delegated legislation and then controls over delegated legislation. So let's get right into the video. Advantages of delegated legislation. In the last part itself, we have discussed the reasons for growth of delegated legislation. It is also advantages for delegated legislation. So I have already discussed briefly about the topic. So now I just quickly recall the advantages with some points. The first advantage is it saves time for the legislature. The second one is delegated legislation allow for flexibility. And the third one is expert opinion is required in legislation. And the fourth one is parliament is not always present in the session. And the fifth advantage is delegated legislation used as an experimental basis. And the sixth one is can be used in situations of emergency. And the seventh advantage is it can be easily settled down with consulting the required party of the case. Next, we will see the disadvantages of delegated legislation. The first one is no parliamentary deliberation. Parliament does not get a chance to debate rules, regulation, etc. made by the executive. These are made in the antechamber of bureaucrat and the benefits of parliamentary deliberation are lost. The second one is no prior publicity. Whereas drafts of bills are often published for the public comment and criticism, prior publicity is not always possible in case of rules and regulations, and the benefits of public discussions or criticisms is lost. And the third one is not enough publicity. Everyone is supposed to know the law because statutes are generally speaking easily accessible. This is not so in the case of delegated legislation, where the mass of rules, regulation, bylaws, orders, etc. often lie buried in the files of bureaucrats. Antecedent publicity, that publicity before enactment, is often missing in the delegated legislation. The fourth one is lesser research. Since statutes are normally given greater publicity than rules and regulation, the former can reach out to a greater number of citizens. And the fifth one is possibility of overreach and or overlapping or possibility of confusion. As delegated legislation can often be confusing, complex and difficult to understand. Moreover, it can be different in different states. And at times it is contradictory too, thus leading to confusion and lack of uniformity. And then sixth one is possibility of poor drafting. Delegated legislation may not be well considered or drafted by legislative experts and may thus suffer from infirmities due to poor drafting. And next we will see the controls of delegated legislation. The first one is parliamentary or legislative control. Both delegating and the power is to supervise and controlling power is with legislature. Under parliamentary democracy, it is a function of legislature to legislate, and it's not only the right but the duty of legislative to look upon its agent how they are working. And the next one is judicial control. Delegated legislation are not beyond the scope of judicial review. Judiciary can struck down the rules framed by the administrative authorities as void by order by the court of law. Substantive ultra vires and then procedural ultra vires. Substantive ultra vires. When a subordinate legislation exceeds the limits authorized to it by the legislature or constitution. And then circumstances. The first one is Parent Act is unconstitutional. The second one is Parent Act delegates the essential legislative function. Third one is delegated legislation is inconsistent with Parent Act and with the general law. Then fourth one is delegated legislation is unconstitutional. Fifth one is delegated legislation is unreasonable. And then sixth one, delegated legislation is malified. And then seventh one is delegated legislation is arbitrary. And then eighth one, delegated legislation is sub-delegated. And then ninth circumstances, delegated legislation excludes judicial review. And then last circumstances, delegated legislation operates retrospectively. And then we will see procedural ultra vires. When a subordinate legislation fails to comply the procedural requirements prescribed by the Parent Act or General Law. To check the procedural ultra vires, there are two methods. The first one is publication of delegated legislation and then consultation with general and specific authority. So this is procedural ultra vires. And then we will see some important case laws. The first case is Narendra Kumar versus Union of India. In that case, Supreme Court said, though the Parent Act is constitutional, delegated legislation can be challenged unconstitutional. And the next case is Manekha Gandhi versus Union of India. That is a passport case. When power is vested with high authority like central government, abuse of power cannot be highly assumed. And the next case is Shivdev Singh versus State of Punjab. In that, rules by State Government of Punjab Tenancy and the Agricultural Lands Act were modified and arbitrary. And that's it here. Thank you. Hope you all understand the topic that we have discussed in this class. If it was useful, give thumbs up to this video. And most of you have not yet subscribed. So please subscribe to my channel and tap the bell icon. Then only you will get a notification while I am uploading the other concepts.